Well, hi, Tamara. How are you? Can you
Hi,
hear?
everyone.
Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I
Hey,
can hear you well.
we're all on the line. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. So you all speak perfect English. I'm not sure about translating. I don't know if you ever need a translator, but
I am appointed as a translator here. My name is Tamara. Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you. My name's Sam, by the way. Zach will be joining us shortly. He is picking up his children, so we could just start without him. He said to go ahead and start without Zach. He'll join us shortly, okay?
Very nice.
So Vardan, how are you?
Շնորհակալ եմ, լավ եմ, ուրախ եմ այս հանդիպման համար։
Thank you so much. I'm well, thank you, and I'm very glad for this meeting.
Թեև իրավիճակը մեր երկրում մի փոքր այլ է, լարվածություն կա սահմաններին։
Though the situation in our country is not so well, there is this tension at our borders, as you might already know.
Ուրախ կլինենք, շնորհակալ կլինենք, եթե աղոթեք մեզ համար։
We'd be thankful if you prayed for us and for this whole situation in our country.
I can do better than that. Actually, I have some good news for you. Heavenly news, spiritual news that might shock you a little bit, but in a good way, not in a bad way. I have heard about the last week's conflict on the border with Azerbaijan. So I'm sorry, Tamara. I need to let you translate, I guess.
Let me check with
հասկանում եմ,
Vardan. He understands,
հասկանում
mostly he has only difficulties when communicating himself. So he understands you.
Okay.
It's
Okay. Yeah.
When he
So
needs to stop, he will tell me.
okay. So basically, the good news is that everything has been prearranged by God. So this meeting, you probably know this biblical term, divine connections, divine appointments, and everything has a divine meaning. If we can see the divine meaning, if we can see the visitation, if we could understand the signs, then God only puts together his people for a good purpose. And so this is why we're meeting today. And by the way, we've been trying to get together for a very, very, very long time, right? Almost 6 months now. We've been talking by email back and forth, back and forth. So finally, I'm so glad that we're able to get on the Zoom call and have this kind of a face-to-face. So yes, I have heard, to continue my thought, I have heard about the troubles on the border with Azerbaijan and what happened last week. And so this is, I believe, this meeting, this conversation, I believe, is the answer to all of your prayers in Armenia. So I don't even know where to start, but obviously I'm going to have to start somewhere. So the technology exists that would secure the territory of Armenia. It will provide security, will provide, I told you a little bit by email that there's the 9th generation of drones that are self-charging drones. They don't need to be fueled or recharged by being plugged in. So they're, in theory, they could be airborne or be in the air indefinitely. So we just need to bring them down once every 90 days for inspection, for technical inspection. So these drones are equipped with multiple HD cameras, 4K resolution cameras, 30 frames per second. They could see at night. So there's a different kind of a camera called LiDAR camera. They can pick up the body heat. They could get the human beings even inside buildings. So it could see through walls. So you cannot hide from that kind of a drone. So every drone that Turkey supplies to Azerbaijan today is what you would call the first generation drone. A very, very primitive drone. Very, very primitive. It's we don't even consider them drones. We used to work on them maybe 30 years ago. maybe even longer, 40 years ago. So what we have now is it's a 27-inch drone, which is approximately 69 centimeters in diameter. It's spherical. It's almost round like a ball, just flattened on the top and bottom. So it has a different kind of propulsion system. It doesn't have any propellers. So that's why I was telling you the Turkish drones, they have these propellers. We don't use propellers on our drones. So our drones were meant to protect the US-Mexico border, just in case I'm in the States here. So that project was canceled when Biden was elected president of the United States. He canceled because it's a political struggle there. They want to keep the borders open. Trump wanted to keep the borders secure. It's politics, you know. Politicians are very, very strange people sometimes. And so 30 years of work, $7 billion of investment into our project was shelved or temporarily closed, suspended. So it's to be reopened in 2024 again. They're going to look at it. But the point is, we have drones, we have technology that could be very, 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 very helpful in Armenia to provide security and safety for the people of Armenia. And so that's what we have. Obviously, I'm your fellow believer, so this is what connected us. So I believe this technology, everything happens for a reason. So when Biden canceled this project for the US border, US-Mexico border, I believe maybe this was a special way to introduce it in Armenia. So anyway, that's my 5-second introduction. I'll let you give me your feedback and just let me know if we're even sort of connecting, if you believe this might help the people of Armenia, this kind of technology. If it does, I could just fly to Yerevan and bring one drone with me so I can demonstrate what it can do. So anyway, I'll just let you give me your feedback and I will listen. I'll take some notes here.
Thank you so much.
Շնորհակալ եմ ինֆորմացիայի համար։ Ես ուզում եմ feedback անեմ, որպեսզի տեսնեմ արդյոք ճիշտ եմ հասկացել այդ ամենը թե չէ։
Thank you very much for the information provided. I just want to check if I understood you correctly.
Ուրեմն դուք գործ ունեք 9-րդ սերնդի դրոնների հետ, որոնք ապահովում են անվտանգություն։
Now we are talking about the 9th generation drones which secure safety.
Եվ ինքը այսինքն այդ դրոնները ում տրամադրության տակ են աշխատում, դրանք ում ատրվում, ինչ արվում դրանով բացի այդ անվտանգությունը։
How can we know whose disposal are these drones at? Who can they be given to, and who becomes secure with having the drones with?
Որովհետև մենք ունենք նախարարություն, որը հենց տեխնոլոգիաների նախարարությունն է, որը հետաքրքրված է նման բաներով եւ իհարկե ես մեծ ուրախությամբ կփորձեմ այդ որպեսզի մենք կարողանանք ներկայացնել դա, որպեսզի հասկանամ ինչ պիտի ներկայացնենք, ինչ կարիք ունենք, ինչ ենք մենք ուզում իրար հետ անենք։
Now we have a special department of technology, like a ministry of high technology, and they are dealing with this kind of things. And if this talk is the way I am now, I understand now, I need some facts to provide so that we understand how we can collaborate in this direction.
Okay, well, sure. The drone was created, obviously, was everything in the United States, even all military technology is funded through private, it's in private hands. Even, well, unfortunately, all the missiles that is being fired somewhere around the world, it's funded by private equity firms in Washington, D.C. and New York City. So, but this project was meant to be a for peaceful use, basically. These drones were created to facilitate handicapped people in the beginning. That's why they're 27 inches in diameter. They're able to fly into the doorways of most American buildings, even older buildings. That's why they're limited to 27. We have larger drones that are much, much larger in size. But this is the most kind of I would say this is probably the easiest to operate. It's 27 inches in diameter. It weighs, which is 69 centimeters. It weighs 54 pounds, which is about 24 kilograms. It's spherical, doesn't have any propellers. It has a cargo bay at the bottom. It opens and, so it could carry up to 225 pounds of useful cargo, which is about 104 kilograms approximately of useful cargo. The cruising speed is about 100 miles an hour, which is 160 kilometers per hour roughly, but it doesn't have an upper limit. This is what we operate safely at 100 miles an hour. We set a limit basically, but once we remove the limit, it's all computer controlled. Once we remove the limit, it could go up to Mach 85, which is over 114,000 kilometers per hour. 114,000 kilometers per hour. So it doesn't have the upper limit. So the materials that it's made out of, it's alloys, special alloys. Classified materials were created by 14 American universities. So that's probably the propulsion system and the alloys are the most classified part of the drone, meaning, there were thousands of people working on this special alloys, which is lighter than paper and stronger than steel. So it's funded by a private company. It will be, if introduced in Armenia, it would be given into the hands, of course, of the Armenian Air Force, I'm assuming Air Force, or some kind of Armenian military agency border patrol agency that will ensure the safety of the borders and will provide the training, will provide all of the support that will be needed. So that's basically, so in other words, everything will be in the control of the Armenian Air Force or the military agency that will be responsible for providing safety of the securing the borders of Armenia. So instead of using, let's say, artillery shells, artillery, they could use the drones. So originally I mentioned it has a Da Vinci arm attached to the drone. It could perform surgeries, remote surgeries in remote areas. So that's how it was designed 30 years ago, to be able to fly, perform a surgery remotely. Da Vinci arm is really, you can Google that. It's a remarkable piece of surgical equipment. But anyway, when you remove the Da Vinci arm, we actually have a special parabolic antenna. This is a military use of the drone. Of course, everything in America very quickly becomes weaponized, militarized, and taken to the next level. So we have this antenna, just to give you an idea what it can do to protect Armenia. So instead of using old technology, it's 9th generation. You have to understand, there is no propellers, there is no machine guns, there's no bullets that is being used. That's part of the design of this drone. So it uses parabolic antenna and it beams microwave. It's called direct energy microwave antenna. So what it does, depending on the frequency of the microwave, which we can control the frequency, it can disable all or any electronic equipment. So it could disable an airplane, it could disable another drone, it could disable remotely without firing any bullets, or it's at the next level of warfare. And I believe this will be pretty common in the next 50 years. So we're about 50 years ahead of the trend right now. So Armenia will be the first country where these drones will be, if possible, will be deployed for protection of the borders, for for customer service, for inviting tourists, because we can program the drones so they'll speak English, Russian, Armenian. It has a very advanced AI system. The brain of the drone is what truly gives its invincibility and power. So it could be used for civilian use, it could be for military use, and if it can be introduced in Armenia, I believe Armenia would be known as the first country that it was supposed to be the US, but it was canceled. Remember when Biden took office? So Armenia could be the first country to introduce this advanced AI technology, and for protection, for civilian use, for commercial use, and so the world will see what AI can do. Anyway, with microwave weapon, or we call it a cannon, it can disable any airplane, any vehicle, any truck, any van, any car, any tank. Basically, it fries the circuitry. It destroys the circuitry of the wherever it's pointing at. So the distance is about 900 feet. 900 feet is approximately 237 meters. So that's the maximum distance that it can disable another equipment without causing any it doesn't explode, it just stops the equipment from functioning. So all cell phones, computers that's in the range, that will be affected, they'll be fried essentially. So that's the new way of that this drone could provide for protection. Now I have to be very upfront that this drone is so advanced that it can stop the enemy missiles. But unfortunately, if Azerbaijan is firing old-fashioned Soviet-made those what do you call them, the Grad-style rockets, our drone cannot do anything to those rockets because it's so old. So there's nothing it could do. It can just monitor the activity, it could detect it from a distance, but there is nothing that our drone could do to stop those rockets. It can only watch what happens from a great distance away. So unfortunately, yes, for old-fashioned shelling, our drone is kind of not equipped for that. It can destroy a missile, any cruise missile. It can basically interrupt its programming, and it could lead it out of the way. So if the missile is fired at Armenian territory, it could intercept the missile electronically, not physically, but electronically. And it could lead the missile to a different location where there's no human beings are present. So, it could lead the missile out of the way, out of harm's way, out of its intended target, so the missile could run out of fuel and just fall on the ground in a very harmless way. And then our drone can follow the missile and pick it up with its Da Vinci arm and take it to wherever it needs to be taken for disposal. So that's the idea of our 9th generation drone and its capabilities. And I truly think that it would be very useful, especially right now in Armenia, to protect its border, to protect its citizens. And that's my little 5-second presentation, basically. So what are your thoughts so far, Vardan?
Համար եւ դա Մարսելու կարևոր ժամանակ է պետք ինձ համար.
Now, this was amazingly and shocking news for me and information, which I need time to understand and make it myself.
Ինքը ինչպես է, այսինքն մենք հիմա Հայաստանը դժվում է բարյակթարներից, որը բավականաչափ մեծ ավերներ են գործում Հայաստանում։ Ինքը ինչ այդ բարյակթարների հետ ոնց է աշխատում։
Mainly our borders suffer and our soldiers suffer from Turkish Bayraktars, as you know, and that's the case when we can't just defend ourselves against. Now, can you just explain how they work against Bayraktars, those Turkish drones?
Yes. Yes. Our drone can destroy or disable the Turkish Bayraktar because those Turkish drones, they have circuitry. So the only thing that our drones could not stop is the artillery shells from Azerbaijan that are flying over. So Bayraktar is not a problem. It could basically, our drone could follow the Bayraktar, come within that 900 feet range and disable the circuitry. It will simply fall from the sky. Or our drone could actually take control of the Bayraktar's primitive circuitry, and it could lead it and land it wherever. It could hijack the Bayraktar and land it wherever it needs to be landed. So yeah, Bayraktars is easy to manage. The more primitive weaponry, like the rockets, there is nothing could be done. Those rockets are so basic that they just the Soviet made rockets, the Grad and the other ones. That's called the BM 122, I believe, or 121. That's the Soviet classification. BM. They're 122 millimeter rockets, and those are just, we call them dumb rockets. They're smart rockets that has the circuitry that our drones could disable, but the dumb rockets, unfortunately, there's nothing could be done. You have to take shelter when those are fired as, brutal force, very crude, brutal force. So basically that's my answer. And by the way, we have identified, there's one Armenian scientist that could fully understand our drones. His name is Robert, and he works at the Yerevan Institute of Physics, I believe, or something like that. He used to be in America up until 2016, and then he's originally from Yerevan. He lived in America, and then he went back permanently in 2016. His name is Robert, and he is the only person probably in Armenia who would perfectly understand the physics behind our drone, because most engineers and scientists, when you tell them about our drone, they say, no, that's not possible. Then when we demonstrate it, they say, how does it work? And then when we tell them how it works, they say, oh, that's simple. So we get very often offended by 30 years of our work. They say, oh, that's simple. We could probably do that. So, but that's true. There's nothing complicated. I'm simply mentioned Robert's name because he understands that field of alternative physics, how we generate that propulsion that doesn't require the propellers. So Robert probably could be a key person to
մենք կարանք Ռոբերտի հետ ինչ որ կապ ունենանք, կարաս ինձ կապես իր հետ, ինքը եթե Հայաստանում է կամ որտեղ որ է ինքը եթե կա.
Do you have any contact with Robert that you can share with me, or how can I connect with him? If you have any?
We have his email address, but something happened to Robert, or I hope he's still alive and well, but we've lost contact with Robert. So in other words, the emails don't go anywhere. Something happened to him, I believe. He's in his, I want to say he's in his 70s, late 80s or 70s. But we've lost contact with him. So I would be happy to give you the email address, but he doesn't respond. And that means, unfortunately, I hope not, but something happened to him, so, but maybe perhaps you can, using his name, you could see where he worked, and maybe in his department, wherever he worked, maybe there's some people that understand this kind of physics, and it will facilitate. We could actually build, I was just recommending, maybe we bring a drone, demonstrate all of its capabilities, and we could build a small factory in Yerevan or somewhere outside of Yerevan. So local engineers in Armenia could build this technology locally. So you could provide for your own security. So there's no potential for some kind of a scandal that, these drones come from America, or you could say these drones are manufactured in Armenia by Armenian engineers, especially once we show you all the blueprints and give you the first couple of sample drones, so you could kind of reverse engineer them. It's not very complicated. It's just you just have to get people of Robert's caliber. Robert is phenomenal. There's only several people around the world who understand this physics, and we know they exist in China. They have several of those scientists in Russia, and of course in the United States, and Robert would be the only other person in Switzerland. There are several. There's a group of scientists in Switzerland who understand this technology. So we have Switzerland, Russia, China, the U.S., and Robert would be in Armenia. So
Շատ լավ, Պաղոթքի պատասխանա։
Very well. This is indeed an answer to our prayers.
Ուզում եմ մի քանի բան այս տպավորություններ չի թողում, որ մտքերս հավաքեմ։
I want to share my thoughts, but I am so much impressed that I can't just even pull my thoughts together.
Եվ ունեմ բավականին ընկերներ, ծանոթներ, որոնց միջոցով մենք կարող ենք այս հետաքրքիր գաղափարը փոխանցել։
And I have really a very large scope of friends and acquaintances who would be very interested in these ideas and who would just be euphoric with this news.
Հիմա ես կուզեմ հասկանամ, ես ինչ կարող եմ անել, որպեսզի այս գաղափարը կյանքի կոչենք, որովհետև այս պայծրությամբ մեր կառավարությունը շատ լուրջ որոնումների եւ այսպես ասած շեշտադրում ունի սրա վրա։
And now I try to understand what is my function here and how can I help this situation, because right now our government is in great difficulty and they all understand we have been working on this since the previous war from 2020. Now they are focusing on this issue, on this type of protection. This is like a state issue for us.
Yes. Ակնկալիք կա, որպեսզի ես կարողանամ կամուրջներ կառուցեմ, ես դա մեծ սիրով կամ։
Now, if there is this expectation that I can build the bridges, I will do this with great love and pleasure.
Well, of course, I completely understand what you're saying. Yes, Vartan, I have to tell you, I did a little homework. I tried to connect with several people in Yerevan, and we definitely need some higher intervention or higher power to intervene, because I couldn't connect. I couldn't really, even before I told them about this drone. It's not about the drone so much. It's just a basic human understanding. I feel like maybe I understand that Armenia is a Christian nation, but not everyone is a Christian to, shall we say, all the way, right? All the way to having the spirit and living in the spirit. And what I'm trying to say is I tried to introduce this project, and I've tried to talk to several people in various governmental agencies and private business people. I could tell there is no way I could do any kind of business with them. There was no understanding. There was no, we're not connecting in any way. We just could not connect. We spoke the same language, English, but it's not the language problem. It's that there's something else that we couldn't understand each other, basically. Not linguistically. It was not a language barrier. It was something else. But so I could tell that because you operate in the spirit all the way, that's why we're now talking. So I believe that God operates in mysterious ways, and now we're finally, with His help, we'll be able to overcome all of those difficulties, technical, bureaucratic difficulties. And so we have the technology, we have the money, we can build the factory in Armenia with just mere governmental approval, so that they'll just give us the okay, the permission to do it, and leave us alone. Because from what I understand, there's so much red tape, so much bureaucratic old style. I understand after 2018 Armenia is in a new course, but there's all kinds of
Ինքը ում հետ է փորձել Հայաստանում, որ չի ստացվել, ես կարող եմ դա իմանալ։
Can you just say some names who we tried to connect from our governmental circles or whoever those were that we would try just to understand the circles?
Yeah, sure. I started this from all of the kind of official channels, all the way at the what is it called? The Armenian foreign ministry, then this and that, and this and that. And I spoke with several people, very nice people, but I think that the spirit wasn't there. So in other words, we could talk all day long, but I could tell you there would be no. I was praying for this kind of a spiritual person to introduce this project. And so now we're finally talking, Vardan, 6 months into this project, while I was trying my very best, my hardest, to connect with ordinary Armenian governmental officials. And it didn't really produce any results. So they say, sure, come to Yerevan, but beyond that, there is no, it's just like one person delegates to another person, another person, another person. And then it kind of disappears. Nobody wants to get involved, almost like they're afraid of the responsibility. If it doesn't work out, they don't want to be part of it. But if it does work out, they're happy to introduce this new technology. They're just very, very, very afraid of what happens if they don't want to be involved if there's a complication, so that they wouldn't be blamed for. That's what I picked up through our conversation. But this technology has been tested. It's been fully tested. It just needs to be demonstrated. And then a small factory could be built where these drones could be produced out of local materials with all Armenian staff, all the engineers and workers.
Շատ լավ, ես կարող եմ տեսնել, կարա ինձ ուղարկի այդ իրանց proposal-ը, որ իրանք ուզում են, եւ որոշակի խարակտերիստիկա, այսինքն այդ խարակտերիստիկան է դրոնի եւ ինչ է իրանց պետք արտադրությունը սկսելու համար եւ ոնց է տնօրինվելու, այսինքն եթե Հայաստանում արտադրվեն այդ բոլորը Հայաստանինն է լինելու, Հայաստանում օգտագործել, թե Հայաստանից ուրիշ տեղեր են առաքելու, կարա ինքը այսպեսի մի հատ proposal ուղարկի, ուրեմն խարակտերիստիկա եւ proposal.
Now, Vardan is asking if you could send us a proposal which will contain all you offer and the possibilities and the characteristics of the drones. And also, we'd like to have it in a written form. Whose responsibility are these drones under? Whose disposal are they at? Now I need all this like a proposal, and after being, and what are the resources you need here in Armenia to start the production or the small factory as you mentioned. Now, if we could have all these things sent us as a proposal, that would be great for us.
Sure, of course. Yeah, I would be happy to arrange for that. But to kind of give you a brief description, it's basically all we need is preferably an existing medium-sized factory, a manufacturing facility where we could bring the initial equipment, and that could be up and running within 90 days. So it doesn't take very long. But how are you at this point? How are you as a nation? How are you coping with the recent attacks from Azerbaijan? Is it being resolved, diplomatically addressed, or is it still uncertainty in the air? Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
իրավիճակը իրոք անկանխատեսելի է եւ
The situation now is really unpredictable.
թեև դիվանագիտական առումով մեծ ջանքեր է գործադրվում, բայց մենք որոշակի դժվարություններ ունենք։
Though there have been made huge diplomatic efforts and we tried a lot of things, but still we have a lot of difficulties in here.
Ես գործի մարդ եմ եւ մտածում եմ այսպես կարանք մենք գնանք առաջ։
Now, being a person of business myself, I think that we can move along like this.
Դու ուղարկում ես խարակտերիստիկան եւ ակնկալիքները, ես հանդիպում եմ որոշակի մարդկանց, ես կազմակերպում հանդիպում, ու ինքը գալիս է այդ մարդկանց հետ ավելի մանրամասն սկսում է խոսել։
First, you send us over the proposal and the characteristics and the expectations that you need and you are waiting to have in here. And I send it to special people I know who would be interested in this, and I make the arrangement. And the third step is that you come here to our country to visit and meet those people here.
Okay.
Tamara ջան, ուրեմն սպասում եմ քո արձագանքի։
Okay.
Now we're waiting for your reply. Then.
Բարի գիշեր։
Բարի գիշեր.
Good night.
See you.
Bye. See you.
Tamara ջան, ես քեզ մի հատ զանգեմ էլի Viber-ով։
Շատ լավ։
Okay.
Տեստեմ։